To research today's breaking story, I literally entered this into Google. When was the last time a black person was dragged to death by white people? And the answer was much more recent than I remembered, and it gave me chills. And I'll explain why this is relevant just 4 days before the 2024 election coming up next. Yesterday's news headlines were kind of a nothing burger for me. Trump's garbage truck stunt was successful in hijacking the news cycle, and it descended into your guy said garbage. No, your guy said garbage. But today's news cycle is one for the books. 100 hours of Jeffrey Epstein revealing Trump's dark secrets on tape, and Trump suggesting that Liz Cheney be fired upon are just a couple of the trending stories that represent real trash. And speaking of real trash, I present to you my breaking story where a group of people thought it was funny to depict Kamala Harris chained behind a vehicle with Donald Trump at the helm. Photos of the float in a Halloween parade in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania show a utility vehicle decorated with American flags and campaign signs for Trump, and people dressed as United States Secret Service agents with what appears to be a rifle mounted on top. It includes a person dressed as Trump waving to the crowd and a person dressed as Kamala Harris walking behind the cart chained to it. And here's a video report about the racist depiction from a local station.
It was during last night's Halloween parade here on Main Street where that politically themed float turned a lot of heads. It's now getting a lot of attention online. Now the borough's mayor is trying to figure out how it was approved.
It's a hot political season. Probably not something I'd want in a children's parade.
In this video sent to Channel 11 by a viewer, you can see the float that appeared during the Mount Pleasant Halloween parade. You could see people dressed up as Secret Service surrounding a golf cart style vehicle. Riding in the cart is a person wearing a mask of former President Donald Trump. On the top of the vehicle is a fake sniper.
The worst part of it was the fact that there was either a rope or a chain that was attached to the back of the vehicle, and there was a woman who was to resemble Kamala Harris in handcuffs and chained to the back of that vehicle as though they were dragging her.
This is not a good look. This is simulating a lynching down Main Street in Mount Pleasant.
That's Josh Huff. He was at the parade with his wife and said he was immediately stunned seeing that float.
It was dark. It was like, this has been escalated, way beyond what it should be. Somebody in power had to say, hey, yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
How did this get approved? How did this make it through approval to get in the line to be in the parade and then continue on through the whole parade route?
And that is a legitimate question, and I cannot answer that totally.
The mayor tells me she's meeting with the borough manager.
This needs to stop. In this country, this needs to stop.
How crazy is it that I'm Googling when was the last time a black man was dragged behind a car by white people? How crazy is it that such a thing is relevant in 2024, just days before the election? But this story represents the Donald Trump world we live in when the opposing candidate is a person of color. And by the way, our history is too important not to mention that his name was James Byrd Jr., who was dragged to death by 3 white supremacists in Jasper, Texas. And it did not happen in the 1920s, and it did not happen in the 1960s. It happened in 1998. And I'm a bit ashamed to admit that I had to be reminded of that story by Google. And before I close out this video, I will share a video reminder about James's murder for all time. But first, let's look at some of the reactions the float depicting Kamala Harris chained behind Donald Trump received.
A Halloween parade last night in Westmoreland County has left community members fuming.
With the costumed Vice President Harris being led away, her arms restrained.
I was in the parade last night. I seen it today. I was sick in the stomach when I seen that go down the street.
What appeared at first to be a rifle sat atop the side-by-side.
Because it's a parade for kids, and this is an adult situation, you know what I mean? And why would you show somebody a gun and another person in handcuffs in a parade?
The NAACP called it a painful symbol that invokes a history of racism.
I am still reeling by the reminder that James Byrd Jr. was dragged to death in the United States in 1998. I wonder, is that the year that America was great, that has won it again? Let's not turn the page on this tragic story, but let's turn the page on Trump and the dark racist acts he inspires.
Hi, my name is Kaylin Womack, and I'm a staff writer at The Root. This weekend, I'm taking you to Jasper, Texas to explore the lynching of James Byrd on this episode of Small Town Horrors. On the evening of June 7, 1998, 49-year-old James Byrd was walking home from a friend's party in Jasper, Texas, when he was approached by a truck full of white men who asked him if he needed a ride home. Little did Byrd know the men had strong ties to the Ku Klux Klan. After Byrd hopped in the back of the truck, Sean Berry, Lawrence Brewer, and John King took him down an Old Town road and stopped the car. The three men then dragged Byrd out of the back of the pickup truck and brutally beat him. Police say Byrd was kicked, punched, and attacked with beer bottles. The men also urinated and defecated on him and spray painted his face. Just when things couldn't have gotten any worse, the men chained Byrd by his ankles to the back of the pickup truck and drove wildly down the road for about 3 miles. The car was moving so fast, Byrd's body swung back and forth, causing the asphalt to riddle the backside of his body down to the bone, leaving a trail of flesh and blood on the ground. Forensic experts say he was conscious for most of the dragging, until he was swung over a concrete drainage culvert, causing his head to sever from his body along with one of his arms. Once the car stopped, the three men dumped the remains of Byrd's body in a cemetery and drove off to a barbecue like nothing happened. A passerby found Byrd's body and reported it to the police. The authorities say they found 81 different places where Byrd's scattered remains were found. The nation was shocked. In America, we hadn't seen a Jim Crow-style killing like this since the hateful lynching of Emmett Till or much earlier. The mutilation of Byrd's body soon renewed an outcry for laws against racist hate and violence. Meanwhile, dozens of Jasper's white residents insisted racism was not the motive behind the murder. Sean Berry was sentenced to life in prison after cooperating with the investigation into Byrd's death. Lawrence Brewer was executed by lethal injection in connection to the murder, and John King was placed on death row but wasn't executed until 2019. To this day, no history textbooks in Texas cover James Byrd's story.